great future. Become a member today.
Baseball is back. The free Odyssey app lets you listen to local coverage for the team you love, live stream your favorite sports radio station, or jump back and listen to the best segments on demand.
Don't forget we talk to the manager every Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Don't listen to some guy from the other side of the country tell you about your team. Live conversations for your local team, no matter where you are. Your season, your Odyssey. Get in the game and download the free Odyssey app today.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco. An Odyssey station.
Good morning!
It's time to wake up. It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game. Come on!
Oh, yeah. Let's go. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is the Pregame Show. As always, I am your host, Joe Spadoni, and we got an awful lot to get into and not a lot of time to do it. 1 hour here. We are the Pregame Show. We get you ready in the morning. You need that morning shot. You need something to wake you up. This is it. If you're just getting off work, getting ready for the day, getting ready for the week, working out, whatever you're doing, appreciate you joining me on this beautiful Tuesday morning. It's going to start getting a little toasty here in the Bay the next few days. So looking at the forecast, as a father of two does, you got to make sure to get those kids out and playing, tire them out. But it's starting a little hot here. Maybe go to a beach the next few days. Shout out Alameda over that state beach. Don't know the name. Pulling a Bonte. Don't know the name. I want to shout you out. Don't know who you are. But I'm excited. And I'm excited for the NFL draft this week. That's coming up. I'm excited for Game 5 of the first round between the Kings and Warriors. Although I was more excited until I found out this injury news yesterday at around 12:30 when it was reported from Shams Charania of The Athletic that De'Aaron Fox is doubtful for Game 5 after MRIs and scans showed a fractured index finger on his shooting hand. He's left-handed, so it's on his left, but fractured finger for De'Aaron Fox. He's doubtful. He's listed as that right now. He's going to try to give it a go, according to reports. So we shall see if that status gets updated today or tomorrow to questionable. I would assume so. I think they listed it as doubtful initially just to show the severity of the situation. So like, hey, listen, if Fox is going to play, we're listing this as doubtful now. If he's going to play, it's going to end up playing through a lot of pain. It's going to be a pain tolerance issue more than anything. And I already saw the comps. I was like, oh, well, you know, Kobe did this in the past. I was like, all right, let's relax. All right, as I'm wearing a Kobe Bryant jersey, all of those looking on YouTube and Twitch this morning, good morning to all of you chiming in there. As always, 888-957-9570, the Comcast Business text line, and the phone number. Call that number if you would like to chime in. But as I digress here, Kobe was one of one. Yeah, he broke his finger. I don't think he wanted his finger broken either. I think he probably would have played at a higher level had it not been broken at the time. Same for De'Aaron Fox. If he's going to give it a go, he's going to give it a go. He's not going to go out like some punk. He's been the best player in this series. Right there. He's been the best player in this series. You can make an argument. If you want to make the argument for Steph, that's fine too. Wiggins has been phenomenal as well. But De'Aaron Fox has been the entire Kings offense at certain points. It's been him and Monk for the most part. You got Keegan Murray chiming in last game. You've had Davion Mitchell at times. Lyles. Sabonis has been, yeah. And I'm looking at Domantas Sabonis now. If you're a Kings fan, if you are the Sacramento Kings, you're looking at that guy like, hey, all-star, you going to show up? You going to put the team on your back? Because De'Aaron Fox has been doing that the first 4 games. The series is tied, and now he's hurt, and we need someone to step up in his place. So 888-957-9570, how much does this injury change your thoughts on this series? Is this series over now? Is it strongly favoring the Golden State Warriors? If you just go by Vegas, the Kings, before this injury was announced, they were a point favorite at home this coming Wednesday, at Golden One Center. After the injury, I think it was Dubs 4.5 on the road. So that just shows how much Vegas thinks of De'Aaron Fox. It's a 5.5-point swing. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Good morning to all of you on the YouTube chat, bright and early. El Guero, Bruce, Brandon, love all y'all chiming in early. Congrats on the Lakers with that comeback win. It's a big one. It was a big one. There was a lot of fun in the NBA yesterday. Lakers outlasting the Grizzlies in overtime, 117-111. You got the Heat and the Bucks. Jimmy Buckets, man. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? 119-114, and now all of a sudden the Bucks are on the ropes down 3-1? Are you serious? Giannis? Jimmy Buckets, man. He is one of those interesting players as he dropped, what did he drop? 50 plus? And I was listening to the broadcast. 56 for Jimmy Butler. Just unreal. And I was listening to the broadcast and Reggie Miller was like, this is the greatest playoff performance by a Miami Heat player of all time. I was like, all right, Reggie, as Reggie does, with the hyperbole, let's relax. He's like, I include Dwayne Wade and I include Shaq and I'm including LeBron James. Okay. Yeah, those guys did it in the finals, though. Let's relax. All right, Reggie. It was a hell of a performance, and Jimmy Buckets was awesome. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on the greatest playoff performance in the history of the franchise. Well, that franchise has won titles. But Jimmy, hey, outplayed Giannis, who was coming off a back injury, and now the Milwaukee Bucks, yes, those Milwaukee Bucks, who have been the favorite throughout the NBA playoffs and regular season for years to come now, they're on the ropes against a team that was a play-in team. Miami Heat were just playing in the play-in, and they were on the ropes against the Chicago Bulls. It's just crazy what happens in the playoffs. And can you imagine the storylines that are going to come out if Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks get bounced early? I know Bonte's been on it. He's been on this, I don't want to call it hype train or whatever you want to call it. But Giannis to the Warriors chatter, it may pick up steam if Giannis were to lose in this first round. Why? Well, if the Warriors don't win it all and they're looking to revamp and Giannis is looking elsewhere, maybe some chatter will start taking place. Maybe, just maybe. And maybe it's more feasible now than it was a few years ago when everyone was trying to, do X, Y, and Z. Oh, yeah, you think Giannis would want to come here? This is during the Warriors down period back in 2020. You think Giannis would want to come here? They haven't won anything. And then obviously Giannis won the title, signs that big contract, he's staying, and the rest was history. Now, if he gets bounced in the first round, when everyone's healthy on your team, Giannis presumably, obviously he hurt the back, but he was back, and he looked like Giannis for the most part, 26, 10, and 13, a triple-double. Just going to be very interesting to keep an eye on that one as things progress. Are the Bucks done? Absolutely not. Can they win that series? Yes. Will they? The way Jimmy Butler plays in the playoffs, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to be keeping Jimmy Buckets down for 3 straight games. And that's what the Milwaukee Bucks are going to need. And that's what the Memphis Grizzlies are going to need after Lakers, again, take them out in overtime. LeBron James forces overtime with a late layup, smoking past Dylan Brooks all night, smoking that Dylan Brooks pack, if you will. Goes up against Jarrett Jackson, the Defensive Player of the Year, late in overtime with the clutch and one. Get that 6-point lead with 30 seconds to go, and that was night there. And now the Lakers look like they have a stranglehold in that series. And again, the Lakers will be playing the winner of this Kings and Warriors series. Is this series now fully in control for the Golden State Warriors after this De'Aaron Fox finger injury? Let me know. 888-957-9570. I think, listen, you heard what I said yesterday. I think the series is over. I thought it was over before the injury, and I think it's more in hand now for the Golden State Warriors than it's ever been in this playoff series currently. I just think that De'Aaron Fox means so much to this team and has meant so much all season long in the clutch, winning the Clutch Performer Player of the Year in this series, being the best player on the court for the most part. Any sort of hampering or lingering issue for him just spells trouble for the Sacramento Kings and a Kings team. Let's face it. Who has stepped up other than De'Aaron Fox game in and game out? Malik Monk at times, okay. He's a bench player, though. I'm looking at Kevin Huerter struggling. I'm looking at Sabonis. I'm looking at, Keegan Murray, who finally broke out last game. Can he continue to step up? Who's going to step up at home in a raucous environment? And who's going to be the more desperate team tomorrow? Who's going to be the more desperate team? It's got to be the Kings, right? You would think, with that injury news, being at home, feeling like if you lose this one, you're going out Chase Center where the Warriors have pretty much dominated all season long. It's going to feel dicey. So I expect the Kings to be the more desperate team tomorrow. Will the Warriors match their energy early? That's what I'm looking for. 888-957-9570. Let me know what you are looking for. Carl, good morning. Appreciate you chiming in early. It's all just a smokescreen from the 707 on the Comcast Business Text line. Let's stop with this conspiracy theory crap. It's a smokescreen because he broke his finger. You can't just lie about those things, by the way. Like the league will fine you a lot of money. It's not a smokescreen. They're not setting up this narrative that if the Kings lose, they can blame it on an injury. You don't think the Kings want to win and not blame it on an injury? I don't think that's the case. It sucks that he got hurt. It really does. But let's not start creating this narrative and these conspiracy theories. It's just dumb and it's stupid. Stupid.
We got the King.
Yes, we do, David. We do. Get a little serious there. That just pisses me off. When these players like De'Aaron Fox, who is shown out in these playoffs and kind of put his name in the Ja Morant type category, if you will, of a young superstar who's rising, or a young star, I don't know, the vernacular you want to use, young star who's rising to a potential superstardom. But it's been so fun to watch his coming out party in these playoffs, and it just sucks that this injury happened. That's just flat out what it is. It sucks. Now, how much is he going to be hampered by it? Is he going to try to give it a go? Those are things we're going to have to monitor. And any news that breaks, we will drop it right here on 95.7 The Game. Your home for Golden State Warriors coverage. We'll have all that coverage tomorrow leading up to the game and all throughout the playoffs. Again, Warriors Live tomorrow. When is that game tomorrow? Is that another 7 o'clock tip? We have a lot of games happening tomorrow, I believe. I think the Lakers are now back in Memphis. They're starting to get, once it starts getting to 5, 6, and 7, you start getting those single-day travel days. So things start picking up, which is a nice, little appetizer for a lot of games heading into that Kings-Warriors matchup. Kings-Warriors on the fly. Series tied 2-2. Kings-Warriors game 5. As I'm vamping here. Yep, 7 o'clock tip. So Warriors Live at 6 o'clock with the great John Dickinson, who will be on the pre- and post-game coverage there before tossing it over to the great Tim Roy, voice of the Golden State Warriors. So we'll continue to take your calls and texts there as it pertains to Warriors-Kings. De'Aaron Fox, he has a fractured left index finger. That is his shooting hand as a lefty. Is this all the Warriors needed to, kind of separate themselves now as the favorites in this series? Do the Kings still have a puncher's chance? Let me know. 888-957-9570. I wanted to shift a little bit to another topic that's kind of dominating, well, I wouldn't say here in the Bay Area, but kind of outside. And it's a big Bay Area story, but we've been so engrossed in this Warriors-Kings series, we really haven't had time to touch on it. But Trey Lance, is he going to be a 49er after this weekend? It's the week of the NFL draft. It's in Kansas City. Niners obviously do not have a first pick, but there's some teams, probably sniffing around. Hey, Trey Lance, if we can't get the Anthony Richardsons, the Will Levises, CJ Stroud's, Bryce Youngs, Trey Lance hasn't had a lot of playing time. Presumably you guys have their future in Brock Purdy. Let's sniff. What's going on over there? Hey, D'Amico Ryan's in Houston. Is he sniffing? Nick Caserio, all those guys. What's going on with Trey Lance? Well, here's Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, their NFL Network insider, guys more tapped in than anybody outside of Adam Schefter, talking about Trey Lance being available at the right price.
I would say multiple times, multiple conversations the 49ers have had from teams calling to see, is Trey Lance available? And it does sound like for the right price, he would be available at some time. And the timing of this is probably the most interesting part. Should mention, by the way, that Trey Lance was at a spring game in his alma mater a couple of days ago, was asked about this, pressed about this, and basically said, I don't have any information on that. I got nothing for you, which is cool. I will handle this one. The timing is interesting because whether or not Brock Purdy is healthy or when the 49ers know Brock Purdy is healthy is probably going to determine when Trey Lance is traded. If there's still uncertainty, like maybe Brock is not ready by July or August, which we think he's going to be, but we really don't know, then you probably hang on to Trey Lance as insurance. I see him getting traded only when there is someone to take his spot on the roster.
Only when there is someone to take his spot on the roster. And you heard it from Rap Sheet there. He doesn't believe it's going to be during this NFL draft period. If you're just reading between the lines and the tea leaves, basically indicating like, let's wait on the rehab process. And I think that's the smart thing to do if you're John Lynch, who did speak to media yesterday, and we're going to play some of his sound, GM of the San Francisco 49ers. And that's the right move. You've had so many injury problems here if you're Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Why would you want to get rid of a guy that can give you a lot of games, see what you got? And listen, you moved up for him for a reason. I know he hasn't played much, but you saw something there. Wouldn't you still like to see what you have before, trading him all the way? I know you feel like you might have Brock Purdy, your quarterback of the future, but he's only played 9 games. How's he going to look after the surgery with an already below average arm when it comes to arm strength? You got Sam Darnold in there. Is he going to start getting into this equation of starting quarterback? How much does that change things when it comes to trading potentially Trey Lance? All these sort of things may be answered in the coming months, and it's all going to be predicated on Brock Purdy's rehab stint. I still think you should see what you got in Trey Lance. I still think there should be a quarterback competition, but Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch probably feel like they've seen enough, and you heard it from the comments from John Lynch, who said, last month or a few weeks, whatever it was ago, like, listen, right now, Brock's done more. He's the leader in the clubhouse. When he's healthy, he's QB1. Well, he's not healthy right now. And if he's not healthy at the start of the regular season, Trey Lance, you have an opportunity. And is he going to be able to seize it? And it's all predicated on health. Again, injury luck, quote unquote. Is it going to be lucky for Trey Lance? Or is Brock Purdy going to be recovering in time to the point where, listen, man, sorry, this is my team now. See you later. I'm not saying Brock's going to say that, but that's basically what the Niners are going to say to Trey Lance. So a lot of interesting layers here in the coming months as it pertains to San Francisco 49ers. Even though they don't have a first-round pick, there's still lots of stuff to tackle in this draft. And John Lynch was talking about, keeping up that communication with his quarterback, Trey Lance, amid all these trade rumors and drama. Here's Lynch talking to the media yesterday.
Our policy, my policy, if we're actively trying to trade a player, not trying to, or if we're having discussions, for instance, last year with Mike McGlinchey, it became apparent that a year away from that, it was going to be tough to re-sign with Trent Williams in the building and the reality of our roster. I brought Mike McGlinchey up and said, hey, Mike, I never, from being a player myself, I never want you to hear from anyone else that you're being shopped. So I'm telling you, we are going to talk to some teams. If we're fielding inbound calls, I think I'd be doing that every single day if I'm telling every single player. I do think with the sensitivity of Trey's position, maybe a little different. So Trey and I have talked and we're on the same page, and Trey knows exactly where the situation is. His mindset is all about competing, and I think that's exactly where his mindset should. We're excited about the position he's put himself in with the work he's done this offseason to, number one, get healthy. Number two, improve upon some things that he really wanted to improve upon. We don't get to watch all of his workouts. I've got a good view. He's definitely excited, and I think he has reason to be. Yes, there has been good communication, and we're excited about, Trey's ability to go compete for a job.
Trey's ability to go compete for a job. Can he do that? Well, again, you heard from Rap Sheet earlier, not from John Lynch there, but it's all going to be predicated on Brock Purdy's health. And from the 925 on the Comcast Business Text line, again, 888-957-9570 is the number if you would like to chime in via call or text. It's always open. Nobody wants Trey enough to give up anything of value for him. This is much ado about nothing. See, I tend to agree with you there as it pertains to the NFL draft. I don't think he's going to get traded this weekend. But if he was, I don't think... Let me rephrase this. I do think there is trade value when it comes to Trey Lance. Not as much as the fans probably would want, but I could see him getting traded for a second or third round pick, a third and a fifth. Sure. You haven't seen enough from him on the field to make a declaration on his career going forward. Think of all the other quarterbacks in that draft class. Feels like we're kind of getting the shape of who they are going to be. Outside of maybe Justin Fields with a proper offensive line, we shall see. He showed flashes last year. But Zach Wilson, I think he's going to be a bust. I think we've seen enough from him. And Aaron Rodgers is officially a New York Jet, ladies and gentlemen. 20 minutes into the show, bearing the lead. Should have let off with that. Aaron Rodgers, New York Jet. Whew, league changing. And we're going to get into the NFC quarterback hierarchy in the next segment here as it pertains to the 49ers. Brock Purdy, where does he land in that? Hell, Trey Lance, if he's the quarterback, where does he land in that? So that'll be interesting with Aaron Rodgers now out of the NFC and into the AFC and into a division that's going to be tough. Dolphins there, Bills, obviously. Patriots are no slouches. That's going to be a tough, tough division, but cannot wait for that. And I cannot wait for the drama that's going to ensue with Aaron freaking Rodgers in the Big Apple. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. And I hope it's going to be toxic. Because you know it's going to be. 888-957-9570. More from John Lynch talking about taking calls on Trey Lance. And he says, it's a lot of smoke.
You know, I think there's a lot of smoke, really. It hasn't been extremely active, and it's not like we've put it out there that, hey, we're taking offers for Trey, call 1-800, that's not been the process. People's job in this is to ask questions. Has that happened on a couple occasions? Sure. It hasn't been that substantive, and, like I said, we're focused, as is Trey, on his ability to compete and play an integral role on this team. Last year, we needed 5, and so we value every single one of those guys, and we're excited about our group. We really are.
Excited about our group. You're going to be hearing that for the next coming months until it's no longer a group and it's just a duo and not a trio. Because I cannot see or foresee, I should say, this San Francisco 49ers team going in with 3 quarterbacks into regular season game 1. Unless it's Brock Purdy not ready, you're not keeping 3 quarterbacks. You're not going to keep them. Either Sam Darnold or Trey Lance is going to be bye-bye. And my gut is telling me that if Brock Purdy is ready to go week 1 and you still got Sam Darnold and Trey Lance in that last week and it's cut day, I think Trey Lance might get the boot, which is crazy to say. But I think Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are really, really high on Sam Darnold for whatever reason. Showed flashes at times last year, but I feel like we know who Sam Darnold is at this point in his career. I know he's still pretty damn young, but the guy's seeing ghosts. I don't know if he can come back from seeing ghosts. Shout out Casper. I don't know if you can come back from that. Here's John Lynch talking about the timeline for Brock Purdy's recovery. Again, this is John Lynch, GM of the San Francisco 49ers, who spoke to media yesterday ahead of the 2023 NFL Draft. And round 1 starts this Thursday, and we'll have all of that coverage right here on 95.7 The Game. Here's John Lynch on Brock Purdy's recovery.
Just what we expected. He's attacking each day. I think he's focused on each day. Dr. Meister had said that an inflection point will be 12 weeks because that's when he's supposed to start throwing. But right now, he's just really focused on maxing each day. I think with rehab, having gone through it myself, there's a physical component to it. There's also a psychological and emotional and mental component. Part of that is just waking up, really being where you're at. And I think that's what Brock has done a really good job of. Get a lot of people reaching out saying that the 5s at the Giants game were really encouraging. But I think what's more encouraging is what I'm hearing every day from our people, from Brock. He's making great progress. As I have it, we're 6 weeks out, just finished that 6 weeks and really doing a good job with it.
So you heard it from GM of the San Francisco 49ers, John Lynch, right there. It's more mental too at this point. And you can speak to Trey Lance, who's also gone through his fair share of injuries. And he talked about that, last year in the offseason. It wasn't so much more physical, it is mental. You're going to get pretty down in the dumps. You feel like you were on top of the world, and you were. And then all of a sudden, it's my job is in jeopardy. Well, welcome to the NFL. It's not for long. Hot hand. Alex Smith, Colin Kaepernick, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, we've seen this dynamic throughout the years, throughout the decades, not just them. Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, just talking about Aaron Rodgers. Like, stuff happens. Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady, the most famous example. NFL is not for long. And you will be replaced due to injury. It can happen. So I'm sure that mental aspect could be tough for Brock. But if all is well and the injury rehab goes well and is feeling physically great during training camp, then all is forgiven, all is good, all is welcome in the world, and Brock Purdy is your quarterback one for the San Francisco 49ers. Should that be the case? Do you want to see Trey Lance stick around? Do you want to see a quarterback battle, if you will? Or do you think it's, Brock Purdy's job to lose? 888-957-9570. That is the number if you'd like to chime in via call or text. More from GM John Lynch here as we're wrapping up here this media portion for him, talking about expecting Trey to be here next season.
I expect Trey to be here. We're excited about Trey's ability to compete and what he can do for our franchise, just as we were when we draft Trey. And I think the only thing that's changed this offseason is that Trey's gone and got himself healthy. He was injured last year, done a really good job of doing that. He's done some different things in terms of his training this offseason. He's very encouraged by that. And we'll see when we get an opportunity to get out there on the field with him. But we have every reason to be encouraged as well.
Every reason to be encouraged as well. So we shall see there as it pertains to Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. We'll continue to take your calls and texts on that. We're going to take a quick break. Come on back. Had some baseball action last night. Look at the Giants getting into a little bit of a groove. So we'll talk about them as they improve to 9-13 on the season. Again, more on De'Aaron Fox fracturing his finger and what that means for Game 5 as the Warriors head back up to Sacramento. We're going to hear some interesting thoughts from enemy number one here in the Bay Area when it comes to a certain media head. I'll have all that and more coming up next on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni right here on 95.7 The Game.
Comcast Business Complete Connectivity checks all the boxes. With cyber threat security, the largest, fastest, reliable...
On 95.7 The Game.
Welcome back. Pregame show, Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game. We're talking De'Aaron Fox's injury and how that affects this Game 5, which is tomorrow. Warriors-Kings. Crucial Game 5. And De'Aaron Fox, the guy who's been the best player on the court for damn near this entire series for the Sacramento Kings. Fractured left index finger. He is a lefty, shooting left-handed, so you can imagine the pain that would take to get through. Reports were that he fractured it halfway through basically the fourth quarter and played through it from the 7-minute mark on. So hell of a performance there to even gut through that one through adrenaline or what have you. But how is that going to affect this game? Is it the Warriors now to lose? Vegas thinks so. What say you? 888-957-9570. Continue to take your calls and texts on that. And listen, I heard this piece of sound yesterday, and I got to play it. And I know he's enemy number one here in the Bay Area. He's LeBron's biggest fan. He's Nick Wright of Fox Sports. And he was talking about this injury with De'Aaron Fox. And, well, it got him thinking. And I will just let him take it from here. Nick Wright talking about De'Aaron Fox's injury and the Golden State Warriors' injury, quote-unquote, luck throughout the playoffs in the past. Here's Nick Wright of Fox Sports.
Injury is part of the postseason. I understand that.
Yeah.
I also understand this. In 2015, the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals with the Cleveland Cavaliers, that in Game 1, Kyrie Irving broke his kneecap, and the Warriors won title number 1. In 2017, the Golden State Warriors were playing the San Antonio Spurs, as Brew likes to bring up all the time, who had them down 22 points. And Kawhi Leonard got undercut by Zaza Pachulia, and the Warriors went on to win the title. In 2018, the Golden State Warriors were down 3-2 to the 65-win Houston Rockets, and Chris Paul pulled his hamstring, and the Golden State Warriors went on to win the title. Last year, the Golden State Warriors were in a battle with the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant, and Ja got injured, and the Warriors went on to win the title. And now this year, De'Aaron Fox, who has given them trouble all year long, they have not had an answer for him, gets hurt and breaks his finger, and we'll see. Now, I understand in 2019, the Warriors suffered all the injuries you can suffer. They had a guy tear his Achilles, they had another guy tear his ACL, or else they would have won that title. But this team has won 4 championships, and in each year, one could argue the team or the player who was the biggest threat to them suffered a catastrophic injury.
And what do you want the Warriors to do about that? Yeah, sorry those players get hurt. It's a war of attrition. The healthiest team usually wins. That's what happens. And I'm not going to I cut him off there a little bit because he did go on to mention that the Warriors also have had injuries and they would have won in 2019. Did not mention 2016, however, which is interesting with the Andrew Bogut loss, so kind of cherry-picked that one. But it's not the Warriors' fault that other teams get hurt. He just wants to point it out, and I feel like he is making an argument. He doesn't say this, but I'm reading between the tea leaves, trying to diminish any team's titles because the other team was hurt during that run. It's loser talk. You can't do anything about that. The best ability is availability. Do the Warriors not get credit for staying healthy? Does that training staff not get credit for staying healthy? It's a part of the game. It absolutely is. And when Steph was hurt and reeling, and when Andrew Bogut was hurt in 2016, and in 2019, obviously, when KD got hurt and Klay Thompson, that was too much to overcome. It happens. Happens. It's happened to the Warriors. It happened to all those teams that Nick Wright mentioned of Fox Sports. Happens. And it sucks that De'Aaron Fox got hurt. We will see if he plays tomorrow through it. It sucks that John Morant got hurt last year. It sucks that Gary Payton II had to get hurt from a dirty play from Dylan Brooks, who, by the way, got sunned yesterday from LeBron James late in overtime for the Lakers win, as the Grizzlies are now down 3-1 and they're reeling in that series. It sucks that Kevin Love and Kyrie were hurt back in 2014-15 and that year. It sucks, but it's part of the game. And I'm not going to feel sorry for those other teams. And I'm not going to diminish the Warriors' excellence and their dynastic run, if you will, just because those other teams were hurt. That's loser talk. And that's loser speak, and it's a loser mindset. Go out there and win the games. The best ability is availability, and that's all it's about. And the Warriors, for the most part, have done that. And will they stay healthy these playoffs run? Knocking on wood right there. I hope so. But they weren't last year. They lost Gary Payton II. And you know what? They rallied. And I know he's not the caliber of a John Morant or of a Klay Thompson or anyone like that. I get that. But he was a hell of a defender, and he was important to this team last year. Often a sixth man. And they handled their business against Memphis, and then against the Mavericks, and then finally against the Celtics, where Gary Payton II came back. So, Nick Wright, I get what you're saying. I understand the thought process, and you're just going through the history of it. But who cares? That's ultimately what I have to say. I don't care if another team is injured. I got to play who's in front of me. And it sucks as a viewer and just as a fan of the sport. You always want to see the best teams and best players available. Everyone does. You want to measure up yourself against the best. But it's part of the game, and it's always going to be a part of the game each and every year. No one is 100% healthy at the end of the regular season. The season, and we can have a conversation about that another time, about being too long and load management and all the drama that's caused. By the way, Kawhi Leonard, yeah, Mr. Load Management, he's out again. Game 5, season on the line. Looking like Phoenix is probably going to take that. More Russell Westbrook. Oh, Russell Westbrook. Don't get me started on that, by the way. Going from Nick Wright to Russell Westbrook will really make my blood boil. Oh, have you seen Russ? He's been cooking. Oh, my goodness. He's been great. Yeah. Big fat L's, too, next to them, by the way. He's allowed to cook, but in the playoffs, we know when Russ cooks, what happens. They lose the games. So it's great that his individual stats have looked good, that three-point shot's going in. He's playing with a hunger and ferocity that no one ever questioned. He always is going to play hard. Nothing I'm ever going to question when it comes to Russell Westbrook is that motor. But in the playoffs, it's just not a winning formula, the game of basketball that he plays. 888-957-9570. Your thoughts on what Nick Wright had to say on that. Getting a lot of chat from GC Cordoba. Nicole Diaz chiming in. OMG, I heard that yesterday, and I think it's so irresponsible of him to put that narrative on TV. I hate that guy. I understand. Nobody want to hear that, Spadoni. Why are you playing that at 5:33 in the morning? You start that narrative with them. I wasn't starting a narrative. Thank you, GC Cordoba. Just going at me, didn't even know my take and was crushing me before I even had a chance to react to it. Don't be fooled by the Kobe jersey I'm rocking this morning. Come on. Don't be fooled by that. Ready Whip. It's so hard for the bronze sexuals to cope with Curry winning 4 titles during the LeBron era. Don't know where that came into it. Nick Wrong from Dante Wiley. Russ stat pads and they lose. Tony Smith. I agree. He's not a winning player. Let Russ cook. LMAO. It's just what it is. I'm just seeing a lot of this narrative when it comes to this series that Russell Westbrook has been playing so much. He has been playing better. It's not much to play better from what he took from the Lakers when he was just god-awful. Horrible. Oh, but they made him the scapegoat. No, he stunk. He was awful, not a good fit. He was not a high IQ player. And when you are not a high IQ player, it is on full display when you are a teammate of LeBron James, who, say what you will about him with the antics and all that other stuff, he has one of the highest IQs when it comes to basketball. And in the past, some of his teammates have not. And it came on full display. J.R. Smith, thank you. We're going to take a quick break. Come on back. More of this conversation as it pertains to the Golden State Warriors and Sacramento Kings. More Giants, have to get into them and their 4-0 win over the St. Louis Cardinals. They're streaking a little bit. Can they pull out of this funk? And more from around the NBA. Again, Lakers take a 3-1 series lead. Grizzlies on the ropes. The Miami Heat take a 3-1 series lead over the Milwaukee Bucks. Can they finish the job? I'm going to talk about all that and more on the crossover, where Joe Shasky of the Morning Roast joins me next. Come on back. This is the pregame show, 95.7 The Game.
Mom, Dad, Sis?
Here we go again.
Why are you in a suit? Picture, if you will, a world with the best network imaginable. I'm talking about the Xfinity 10G network. Go.
Bill Burr is the best. Welcome back. Pregame show, Joe Spadoni. Oh, he's so good. 95.7 The Game. That's Joe Shasky joining me as he always does, Monday through Friday, 5:45 a.m. for the crossover. Joe Shasky, of course, of the Morning Roast. And Joe, we were just talking about just sneakily here because I kept teasing it. I might as well talk about it now.
Is that what we were talking about?
Talking about the San Francisco Giants, baby.
How about my Gigantes?
Alex Cobb, complete game.
Hey, you know what's crazy is that he actually.
He pitched a shutout. I don't have to say complete game shutout. If you want to say shutout, you don't have to say complete game because it's redundant.
There's nothing that drives me crazier than the fun police trying to tell me how to, put my verbiage out there. It's a complete game shutout. Like, yes, that's what it is. All right. Who cares? But point being, he was brilliant yesterday, and they got some timely hitting. Another guy gets hurt after one guy comes back. Joey Bart, we'll see what ends up happening there. I guess the groin or something like that, which sucks because he was batting over 300. But no, it was really nice to see Alex Cobb. Like, look, here's the thing. Like, Farhan can find these random pitchers at the end of the rotation. The problem is building out a team, like a legitimate team. Cobb on a contender type team, on a team that you actually view as one of the top tier teams in the league. He's a 4 or 5.
Yes.
Maybe he's a 3 because of some injuries or whatever. On this team right now, he's a 1 or a 2 because obviously Logan Webb has been struggling, but he's the 2, Alex Cobb. He's been brilliant this year. He was really good last year, better than the numbers indicate, because he was just got horrible defense behind him, and so a lot of balls fell down. But yeah, no, they look really good right now. And now the problem is that you got a couple of guys really struggling. Like David Villar is struggling right now, but I want to see him continue to stick out there and keep running out there. I don't care that he's batting 160 or 170 or 180. What do you, Darren Ruff, who's also hurt, 34-year-old Darren Ruff is what I want to see? No.
No, well, in fairness, all these guys are old as hell, but it's good to see Yaz. He's looking like he picked up. A lot of these guys that struggled with this shift, I've noticed, I shouldn't say a lot, but a few of them, most notably, Mikey Yastrzemski, who's struggled mightily the last, kind of 2 seasons, and then Joey Gallo, another one. See, this shift thing, it's very interesting.
Well, especially the lefties.
Yes.
Right? Because the lefties is where you could stack all
Matt
of those.
Olson, another one.
Yeah, you could stack all those guys out there. So, yeah, no, it is very interesting. You're seeing, I think it's one team in the league right now, the Kansas City Royals, are experimenting with moving one of the outfielders.
I saw that during the series.
Into the short right. And they've really tried. They're not a very good team.
No, they're tied with the A's worst record in the league.
But what I appreciate about them is they're trying to try things out that are experimental because they have a crummy team with a bunch of young players. So they're running like crazy. I don't know if you know, stolen bases are through the roof.
Big bags.
Do you know that the success rate is actually better than Ricky Henderson's best year?
Wow. So Ricky should come out of retirement is what you're telling me.
Well, just Major League Baseball success rate right now on stolen bases. So clearly the slight increase in the bag size has helped.
What do they call those? The pizza boxes now? I love that.
Look, I love the baseball rules. The games are going by quickly. There was a time when that Alex Cobb game would have ended after that NBA game.
Yeah. Which, God, I hate the NBA for doing these late start times, but God,
it's brutal.
It's brutal for the morning roast and for the pregame show. I have to get here at 4:30
when it went to overtime.
morning.
I was like, oh my God. But honest to God, I really enjoyed that.
That was a fun game.
There's a legitimate conversation. I was texting it in our thread. Look, Ja is one of the fastest players I've ever seen, maybe in any sport. He is so fast. He gets so high in the air and falls down so many times.
Very scary.
There is no way this man is going to make it through his entire career without more injuries.
No.
And I'm not even trying to put that into the ethos. I'm worried about him. He went flying in the air on that LeBron James block charge play, which we could argue till we're blue in the face on that. And I'm like, dude, you are putting your body, you already have a huge wrap on the right wrist. How he doesn't have a broken wrist already is beyond me.
I just look at guys with that kind of frame, and I think of, how can you not? Derrick Rose.
Yes.
A guy like that, where it was just and then it was just gone like that.
Russ is an outlier in terms of being able to fly like that. And
very
even
durable.
Then, and even then, Russ, I don't think left his feet as reckless as Ja. Ja goes flying in the lane.
He
and
does.
with all these guys taking charges and whatnot, you're the one who's going to take the brunt of the injury.
The difference with Westbrook, I think early on when they were calling this, before the rule changes from a few years ago, he was searching for contact.
No, that's
he was
a good point.
and he was getting it
That's a good
every
point.
single time. So he was initiating that contact, going up every single time. That was my impression of every single NBA player of all time, by the way. Give myself a 3. But no, it's interesting to see both of these series that we saw last night that are on the brink now. And I think the surprising one, I don't think a lot of people are surprised by the Lakers doing this. I know it's in the Vegas will tell you like Grizzlies were the favorites, but Lakers are a good team. They have Anthony Davis, they have LeBron James, like they can win the series. The Bucks being down 3-1 to the Miami Heat, a play-in team.
Shocking.
And I know I just said the Lakers are a play-in team, but they're a little different. The Miami Heat, Jimmy Buckets.
I know.
Like, that's wild to me,
well,
Joe.
Buckets had an incredible game
56
yesterday.
points, and Reggie Miller, he'll tell you, it's the greatest performance ever in Miami history.
Reggie.
We're not going to mention LeBron James against the Celtics in 2012 or anything.
I mean, you look at their team and you're asking yourself, like, because if you're not really following the Miami Heat, they got 3 or 4 guys that were two-way players just within the last couple of years, you know?
Strus?
Max Strus, what's the guy's name? The braids, 18 Martin. They got Martin. They got the other short, small guy with the dreads, the braids, excuse me. God, his name's evading me.
It's all right. I am not locked into the Miami Heat.
But the point
it's
being,
right.
and then obviously Duncan Robinson, who went from two-way
Gabe
player.
Vincent? Is that
Gabe
anything?
Vincent,
There you
yes,
go.
thank you. And Gabe Vincent's been a big part of their team since they put Lowry on the bench. Yep. So, I'm not surprised, though, because Giannis looks compromised.
And he still had a triple-double yesterday. Like, that's how great he is. But to your
Even
point.
Brooke looks good.
Like, I cannot believe.
I like Brooke.
I don't know how. Yeah, I like Lopez, too.
I know a lot of people don't. I like him.
No, he's
evolved.
solid. He's way better. Well, way better. Because I think people lump him into his brother for some reason. I'm like, no, he's not that. He's been consistent his entire career.
Yeah.
Brooke Lopez has.
Yeah,
Back to his Nets playing days. But it's just interesting to watch that game. I was like, they had like a 12 or 11-point lead with 3.5 minutes to go. I was like, then just went stagnant. And then Jimmy just took it over. It was just so crazy to me. Giannis got passive. They were getting 3-point happy. That is, and I credit Bonte. He was early on this. There is something to Giannis getting bounced early, being a favorite here, and just having that one title. Will there start being chatter around him, like with major moves happening? Because if you get bounced by a playing team in the Miami Heat that's given you troubles in the past, you start looking at that roster, and it's just like, is Middleton going to keep doing what he's doing? 14 points, is it going to get it done? God, Brooke Lopez, you're right, 36 points. Jesus, I'm just looking at that box score.
I know.
Drew Holiday, like 14 points. Like, I know he's a defensive guy. Then you start, Pat Connaughton's only giving you 8. Joe Ingles,
They're
3.
old. They're low-key
Bobby
old.
Portis, 5 points. Like, yeah.
They're low-key old.
They're low-key. Like, they need to have some big changes.
And if there was one team that could, like, muck it up against them, it's the Miami Heat.
Yes.
And Jimmy
Adebayo,
Buckets.
yeah.
Oh, the other thing is Jimmy Buckets from regular season to playoffs. Is there anyone who elevates their game more?
It's crazy. If
He's
you
a reverse Kirk Cousins.
Dude, he is a Hall of Famer if you're just looking at the playoffs. Like,
It's
you're just
unbelievable.
It's wild. Like, I think I was listening.
And his shooting goes up. Everything goes up.
No, it's wild. And it's weird because someone made this comp and it was interesting to me. It's almost like we think of Damian Lillard as this way better player than Jimmy Butler.
I'd rather have Jimmy Butler.
Right?
It's not
like,
even
isn't
a
that
question.
crazy?
It's not even a question.
But Damian Lillard on the top 75 team,
Well,
we think of him as one of these greatest scorers of all time kind of thing.
And that's not me being flippant to Damian Lillard. Jimmy Buckets, like, those are the kind of guys you want to go to war
Yes.
with. Yes.
Like, he's a guy that's going to win you a game. And I'm not saying like Damian Lillard can't, but I've seen it so many times with Jimmy Bucket. He took that team and say what you want. I know a lot of people like to poo-poo the bubble. He took that team against the Boston Celtics and won that series and took them to that championship.
And they were 1 3-pointer away last year from getting into the finals. I think people have forgotten about that.
And now the Warriors probably would have waxed them there, but just getting there is an achievement in and of itself.
And they're doing it right now with no Tyler Hero.
Yes, that is a major factor. And I thought
isn't that crazy?
Well, once they lost Tyler Hero and the Bucks smashed them like they did in game 2, I was like, oh, okay, this is. And they lost.
It's going to
game
right
2.
itself.
Yeah,
they were riding the momentum. I know that was a huge win. I heard on the broadcast. Maybe I misheard it. Spoelstra is 6th all time in playoff wins.
He is so
tying Red Auerbach.
He's so slept on, dude.
I couldn't believe that.
He's so slept on.
I mean, I know that there's more levels of playoffs now, and I know they've added extra games in the first round, for example. So like, there's nuance to this, but like Spoelstra's one of the more underrated coaches in sports, just in general.
Very, because I think he coached LeBron, he coached Dwayne, so he coached that Heatles team. that some people think underachieved. I was like, they won 2 titles. They did not underachieve. They ran into a really good Spurs team at the same time.
He's got a little like NBA McVay in him in that he kind of came out of nowhere, was the boy wonder, and he's just like a little darling. And now you look up and you're like, dude, he's been there almost like 15 years.
He's a grizzled vet now. Him and Pat Riley.
He's been there since 2011.
That's Pat Riley's
Isn't that
guy.
crazy?
It is crazy. Since I've graduated high school in 2011, I'm turning 30 in a couple months, Joe. It's kind of crazy.
How jealous I am.
And it's, well, you want to switch?
I mean, bro, I played 6 softball games on Saturday, and I'm just now starting to be able to lift my legs.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, no, you're right. You're good. You're good. You thought you tore his Achilles. For the folks that don't know, Shasky's been coming. He's like, dude, I think I tore my Achilles. No, you didn't. You're walking.
I know.
You thought you heard a pop though.
Well, I did. It's called the Thompson test. You squeeze your calf as your leg, and if your foot moves or whatever, then
you're
you
good.
should be
There's no detached ligament. Speaking of injuries, and we're bearing the lead here. De'Aaron Fox.
If I hurt myself again, Bonte will never let me hear the end of it.
No, he won't. He won't. Well, we already have a nice guy, Stephen Langford, formerly the pregame show, breaking his shoulder, diving for a ball. You guys need to relax on the field, by the way. Just relax.
I know.
De'Aaron Fox, broken index finger, the tip of it, I guess, on his shooting hand.
Just the tip?
Just the tip. Let it breathe there for a little bit. That sucks, right?
Oh,
that
it's
sucks.
terrible.
It's just like, and he's doubtful. Maybe he'll get upgraded to questionable. I don't know. People are saying he'll give it a go, but it just felt like this was the pivotal Game 5 we were all looking for back at Sacramento, and now the best player, who's been the best player on the court for all these games, is compromised, and that just stinks.
Well, if any organization, fan base should understand about injuries throughout a playoff run, whether it's the opponent or their own team, it would be the Golden State Warriors.
I played the Nick Wright sound earlier. It triggered a lot of people. But
What's that?
Well, want me to play it for you?
Oh, okay. What did he say?
Well, let's see. We got about a minute 25
you know
here.
What?
So
I'll play it with Bonte.
We'll tease it with him. He basically just cited all the injuries, like stuff that happened with the Warriors throughout their entire run.
What about their own injuries?
He mentioned that.
Okay.
I cut that part off, but it was basically mentioning all the championship runs, all the injuries other teams have sustained.
Show me any kind of playoff run in any sport, and there's going to be injuries on both sides.
That's exactly what I said. At the end of it, I just said, like it's a war of attrition. It's just best ability is availability. When do we give the Warriors credit for staying healthy?
Well,
right?
And deep.
Do we give them credit? They lost Gary Payton II, a big piece for that team
100%.
on the defensive side. I get it. He's not a Klay Thompson or Andrew Wiggins.
Draymond's back injury last year.
Andrew Bogut.
What about the guy Steph Curry coming off the bench to start the playoffs? I mean, there's a variety of things, and a lot of guys are quote unquote hurt, not injured. Like, there's a lot of things going on. I was actually having this conversation over the weekend with my buddy Omar, and he's a big Nats fan, and we were talking about Strasburg, and like no one ever cites now. Hey, in 2012, the Nats shut down Strasburg, and he didn't pitch in the playoffs.
Yeah, like that was a big concern early in his career. Yes,
and like nobody cares.
No.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares that Jose Guillen got popped for roids and Cody Ross was the guy who had to play in 2010. I'm just using a couple examples outside of the NBA world. Nobody talks about how, remember when Tom Brady lost that Super Bowl and his hand was all cut up?
Yeah.
And he cut his hand beforehand? I don't remember, what was it, the stitches or something?
I think so, something like that. Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yep.
History doesn't remember that.
No. Well, remember LeBron? What was it? He had the broken hand on the cast. Remember that one? He's just walking. He's like, I was playing with the broken hand with the guy. Anyways, that's Joe Shasky. He's joining Bonte.
I did
Hill
enjoy
next.
LeBron going to Dylan Brooks yesterday.
The game went in and one.
I have to admit, I did enjoy that.
He dropped the 20-20 on him, so I guess that equals 40, Shasky. Morning roast next on 95.7 The Game.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco.